welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while and we got another one for you today. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over one news article that really is not even a news article, but it's going to be about TA. Then we're going to look at some on-chain metrics. Then we're going to look at the Bitcoin chart, Ethereum chart, EGLD chart. That's where we're at. So what I want you to do is like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, check the links, check out my Twitter, follow me there for some other TA updates during the week and stuff. And yeah, let's go ahead and get moving, all right? Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Let's go. All right, game on. So what are we doing here? First thing we're going to look at is this article here, all right? Now, this is mainly TA. It's about the Puel multiple. It's going to explain it to you a little bit, and I'm going to show you a chart, and then we're going to move on from there over to the on-chain metrics. So it says the Puel multiple is one of the best-known on-chain Bitcoin metrics. It measures the value of mined coins or mined Bitcoin on a given day compared to the value of those mined in the past 365 days. The resulting multiple is used to determine whether a day's mined coins are particularly high or low relative to the year's average. From that, miner profitability can be inferred, along with more general conclusions on how overbought or oversold the market is. All right, let's go down. We're going to look at this Puel multiple chart. So what you're looking at here at the bottom in green is a buy area. This is telling you in red, you have the Puel multiple first of all. In blue, you have the Bitcoin price, and that is in log. And you have the Puel multiple here, okay? And the green at the bottom is the buy area. The red at the top is normally a sell area. It means you're overbought. So basically, when we look at this, we see that the Puel multiple went really high here back in 2009, 2010. Huge sell area, the price crashed all the way down to the bottom here in this green area. This was the buy zone, and then Puel multiple went up. But look what happened to the price, right? Price went up when we were in this sell zone, and then when the price dropped, we're in the buy zone. So what you're seeing is that the Puel multiple may be indicating when the markets are reaching bottom. So now let's look at all these bottoms. We see this bottom here in the Puel multiple correlates with a market price bottom. We see this bottom here in the Puel multiple correlates with a market price bottom. We see this bottom here correlates with a market price bottom. You see where I'm going with this? You see this one here correlates with the March 2020 pandemic bottom. And we have been in this buy zone for quite some time over the last few months, and we are now working our way out of it, which means this may be correlating with a market price bottom. Now, if that's the case, it's telling us two things. It's telling us, number one, that we could be ready to start moving ahead, or we could see something like this, right, where we moved up and then moved right back down. So we could move up to like 25, 30K, and then could move right back down to 20K, right? That could still happen. Okay, so now you know what's up with the Puel multiple. You know that we could technically be leaving this area here, right? This area here, which is the buy zone, which means you may not have a whole lot of time left to buy at these prices. I'm not gonna lie to you, I bought when we went down to 18. I have been buying all my DCAs all the way up. My last buy was at 24, like earlier today. So it's just how it is. You know, I got a dollar cost average in, and I'm not going to stop that. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's look at the exchange reserves. So the exchange reserves now are down to a very, very low amount. They have gone down to these market lows that we've seen over the last couple of months. So we're going to keep looking at this, but if the exchange reserves drop even further from here, it's going to be a little crazy, because what's really happening is during this entire downtrend, we are not seeing Bitcoin being moved on to exchanges. So it's like, only thing happening is accumulation. It's the weirdest thing. Like, all you're seeing is accumulation since March 2020. This was the March 2020 drop. And since that time, the amount of Bitcoin exchanges has just been dropping overall, right? We did have a move here where the amount on exchanges went up. That's when Bitcoin started to peak out at around 60K the first time. This time, even though we peaked out at like 62 or whatever it was, like 67K, you're still seeing that the price dropped significantly with the exchange reserves. You didn't see exchange reserves go up much yet. So it tells me that you've just had massive accumulation. That supply shock is going to come into effect at a certain point. We just have to wonder when. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but you know, whenever it does, I think you're going to see some massive price increases. Anyways, that's what we see with exchange reserve. You've already seen the Puel multiple. I just showed that to you, but this is the Puel multiple live. You can see that the Puel multiple is at some fairly low levels. And if we zoom out, you can kind of tell what that chart was showing us, right? We see that We have this bottom here, we come here, we see that we are coming out of this bottom here, and we very well could be setting in these new levels to start a bull run. Okay, we look at the hash rate. Hash rate's looking pretty good. It has been fluctuating, and it's not at the peaks of the all-time highs, but it's still pretty high. The reason that hash rate has been going down like this is because there are a lot of mining rigs that are just not profitable right now. So if that's the case, they shut them off, hash rate goes down. Okay, so the last time we talked, all right, what we talked about was hitting 24.3K as a top and then coming back and testing our support. I mean, 24.3K was a pretty good top, right? We kind of called that. And then we kind of called that support before we moved up. Now the question is, are we going to do the breakout? Because there's a couple of interesting things I'm seeing here, right? Okay, so we're looking at the 4 hour. If we zoom out on the 4 hour, one thing I want you to really look at right now, it's easy to look at the price, focus on the moving averages behind the price. Now, when you saw the price move up here, what happened? All right, the price started hugging this 20 exponential moving average in blue, and when we started dropping down, we went below all the moving averages, right? We did that once here, we did that once here, we did that once here. But overall, what have we done? Overall, what we have done is this. We have set in this pattern here, right? We have started to set a bottom trend line, and that bottom trend line is trending up. Now, if that's the case, that stands to reason that we will continue to use this bottom trend line. Now, this is actually, if you look at the triangle just like this ascending wedge is a very bullish pattern. Now, when we come here, we could break out of this pattern. This actually, ascending wedges, it could go either way, really. We could break out to here, and then we could fall from this too. So I'm not going to say 100% that we're going to break out from your bullish, because this tells me that the opportunity for us to go down again back to 20K does exist, right? Until I see something different, right? A symmetrical triangle is not really what we're seeing. This is what we are seeing. Now, what this tells me also is that if we want to honor this, we basically have two things that could happen right now, okay? So pretty much what we could see right now, I'm going to zoom out on this a bit. What we could see is that we continue to hug the moving average. We're on the 20 exponential now, and we bounce again. I kind of think that's more likely. I think that there's going to be one more bounce before we have a correction back down to around 24K. Now, if that's accurate, then chances are we'll see a breakout in the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll break out past 25K, start putting in some volume, and then we'll probably have a sell-off and come back down. Now, if that doesn't happen, let's say we drop. Well, if we drop now, I'm going to expect Bitcoin to come down and get support on this trend line, right? It's going to get support in two areas. Number one, it's going to get support on the moving averages. So 23K, 22.5 to 23K is a good support zone. That's right at these bottom moving averages on the list, right? So these moving averages are going to start moving up. We should be getting support on all these moving averages. The other thing that we could see here, and we actually just saw a pretty decent drop, like it's at 23.5. We were just at close to 24 just a few minutes ago. So that's a pretty big drop pretty quickly. Let's keep an eye on it. Maybe something will happen while we're live and we can do some live TA. But anyways, if we see here that it continues to drop, yeah, 22.5K to 23K seems to be a decent support area, right? Then we also see that if it drops further, we're looking at around 21K to be our bottom, right? That is the area that correlates with this bottom trend zone, and it just so happens to correlate with our support zone. So that is what I'm going to be looking at. I'm looking at those two options, and it looks like we're still dipping 23.4K right now. And we're going to keep watching this. We'll come back and take a look at it if we need to. That's what I'm looking at for right now. We are looking at, if we are going on the bottom, if we're going down, we are looking at around 21.3K. If we are going up, we are looking at a breakout somewhere to this 25K area. Basically, a breakout from this point has resistance at only one area. The resistance is at 30K. I don't think we're going to just jump right back up to 30K. I think when the price moves up, we are going to get resistance at around 25, 26, and this entire area here to the right-hand side, hang on a second, this entire area here is where we're going to start putting in volume. Right here, we don't have any volume. Right? This is from 24 to 28. That's a pretty big zone, right? So I could easily see the price coming up like this and just trading sideways, even coming down. And suddenly what you'll see is this start getting built up with volume. That is what we want to see. You don't want to have this big of a zone here, because then even if you go up to 30K and you hit resistance there, well, it's a very good possibility you're just going to come and fall right through this zone where there's no support. You know, you want to build up that VPVR volume support. The VPVR stands for the volume profile on the visible range. And on our visible range, even if we zoom out, what you can really see is that we have a ton of volume down at this area. We have a ton of volume at 30K. We are lacking volume between 24 and 28K. We need volume there. I think that this pattern is going to break out into that area and we're going to start seeing volume there. Though I do think that in the short term, it is possible that we come down and continue to use this trend line on the way up, right? We could break out sometime in mid-August, which would be right around here, right? That would make sense, right? If that was to happen, let's just say we come down to these moving averages, we go sideways, we come back down, we come up, we come down again, and then we break out from here. You see a move like this, and it really follows the pattern that's been forming, you know? Sometimes that's what happens. You know, price action just follows patterns. It's weird. I can't explain how it happens that way, but that's why people do technical analysis, right? It's not just a bunch of dudes on YouTube that are doing TA for Bitcoin. Like, this is what financial analysts do, right? You go to a stockbroker and you expect them to buy stocks. This is what they're doing. They're looking at charts. They're doing technical analysis. They're going online, Investopedia, and they're looking at different metrics. Like, that's literally what they're doing. Okay, so we've seen all that. That's what's up with Bitcoin for right now. Those are the levels I'm looking at. Long term, I think we're going to go well over 100K. So I don't really care if I'm buying at 18K, 20K, 25K, 30K, 35K. I don't care. I'm just going to keep buying at those levels because I think within the next decade, it's going to be so much higher that it's not going to matter because the value's there, right? The reason that I think it's going to be so much higher is because I see a lot more people using it. I see a lot of value to gain from it. I see it becoming more renewable. I see the energy utilization becoming a moot point because in reality, if you look at it relative to energy utilization, Bitcoin does not use a lot of energy, especially once you take the utility into account. Take that utility into account just for one underserved country without a financial system that could leverage Bitcoin, and suddenly you have a utility for something that gives financial inclusion globally. That is very, very valuable, and that is why I think any layer 2s that can, or any other layer 1s in DeFi that can achieve the same type of financial inclusion have a lot of value to gain. Okay, let's move on. We're going to take a look at the Ethereum chart now, all right? Now, when we look at Ethereum, we are seeing something super interesting here. Ethereum has been putting in this amazing consolidation. We're going to look at it on the 4-hour, okay? So this is almost like a clear bull flag. Now, when I see this, it tells me that more than likely there will be a breakout out of this. Now, granted, Ethereum, like everything else, is following Bitcoin. But I wanted to show this to you for one reason, because this is kind of crazy at what the target is, right? If we look at this and we just scale this out, all right, the target of a breakout for this is right around $20,050. Like, that's what you'd be looking at for a target coming from this. Like, you'd be looking to break out of this. And actually, that's a little bit lower. It could be, you want to take it all the way down to this bottom. So in reality, oh boy, I'm not trying to be a moon boy here, guys. I really am not. But I mean, this is just how the pattern works, right? This is just how it works. Now, is it going to happen? I don't know, because it's a pretty huge target from where it is now. You know, we're talking about seeing the price go up to around 2230, right, out of this pattern. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I think a lot of it is going to be predicated upon how Bitcoin's doing, but it's going to be coming up soon if it does come up, especially if we see Bitcoin make its move in the next couple of weeks or even sooner. 45 level on the RSI. So the 45 level on the RSI is a key level. This is a level that we see in many times telling us whether or not we are about to flip bullish or whether we're about to stay bearish. Now, in this case, what we see is that we're heading down towards this level. Right now, the RSI on the 4-hour for Ethereum is sitting at 54, so there is still some downward movement that could happen, which means that even though this pattern looks good, there is the possibility that it doesn't hold on the 20 exponential moving average and that you see Ethereum drop all the way down to around $1,617. That's where this moving average is, the 50. If it goes down to the 50 exponential moving average, that would roughly correlate with the RSI coming down to the 45 level or slightly below it, which would possibly reset that RSI, and I think that Ethereum could very well come back into this pattern and then break out. So I've been completely open to seeing some downward price action before upward price action. So we'll see. If things do keep dropping, maybe I'll buy a little more. I'm not really accumulating Ethereum here, but I do have a lot of people messaging me and asking me for Ethereum TA because I used to do it back in the day. I haven't been doing it. So I decided to add it back in for now. So that's what we're looking at with Ethereum. I think that Ethereum right now, if it can break out of this level, that'd be great. But I think that coming back down to anywhere between 1630 and 1695 and putting in more volume there will be a good thing. If you look at the VPVR on the right-hand side for Ethereum, what you definitely see here is that Ethereum is lacking volume in this area. Kind of like I showed you on Bitcoin, Ethereum is running into that same problem. But the only difference is when it's occurring here with Ethereum, you're seeing that that's where the price is right now. So if you go over to the daily, you can get a much better view of how this looks, right? When you see this here, you start to notice that there are little pockets where there's not much volume for Ethereum. So Ethereum in reality is lacking volume between 1400 and 1200 too. So it's kind of been spiking in prices up and down. It hasn't been sitting in too many levels and putting in good volume. It did it between 1000 and 1200. It would have been great if it did it between 1300 and 1500, but it really didn't. So I think right now, seeing a move up, that 2000 level is the area to break, and it is a psychological level as well, where you could see sell activity come in. People who have been looking to take some profits or bought in short term and over the last few months, maybe looking to sell at 2000. There's probably a good amount of sell orders at that level, so keep that in mind. Okay, we are going to move on to EGLD now. All right, we're going to take a look at what's happening on this EGLD chart. EGLD on the long term, its pattern is looking very similar to Bitcoin, but we are actually in more of a symmetrical triangle. We don't have that flat top like we did here because we didn't really come and touch it on this second top. Now, what this tells us, though, is that we also have a very important trend, right? We have a trend that shows us that if we have one more drop to this level to around 53 and then come back up here, well, that's also mid-August, right? It's right around the time that I expect Bitcoin comes out of its pattern. So if Bitcoin comes out of its pattern here in mid-August, and EGLD's pattern is also saying that that's around the time that we're going to hit this apex, right? August 15th is like right around here. Well, then our breakout could look something like this, right? That apex could hit and take Bitcoin back to this $85, $90 level. Now, I'm sorry, take EGLD back to this $85, $90 level. Now, if EGLD comes back to this level, it's not really a big deal for me. That's not a huge enough gain. Like, I think EGLD should be valued much higher than it is, but the reason it's not is because of adoption, right? Right now, the problem is with Bitcoin being where it is and DeFi being where it is and the market taking such a beating during the bear, you're not having new people come in, right? Especially because the cost of capital is going up. So they can't even borrow money. They can't do anything. It's very hard to invest right now. People are just trying to pay their bills. People are trying to buy food. So when things are like that and people don't have that expendable income to invest, obviously things like DeFi that are early in their lifespan are going to suffer. People aren't going to buy NFTs. They're going to go buy food, So that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at a global monetary concern, but I don't think the industry has anything to worry about. I don't think the best technology has anything to worry about. What I think needs to happen is that the people that are going to build need to build. They need to build and they need to keep doing their building and doing it well, right? Then there are other people who, one thing that kind of drives me nuts is that there are a lot of people building some great things on the Elrond network. But when you don't have a ton of growth and stuff like that, and you're in the bear market, like people do dumb things. And sometimes that is to, give a lot of grief to the people that are actually building. Like if you have people that are building on your blockchain, they're trying to achieve something, create a company and create products and create use cases. I think you support those people. You tell them that, hey, I think you're doing a good thing because I see a future here. So I don't know. I see a lot of that, and it kind of drives me nuts. I don't say much about it because I try to stay neutral and just stick to TA. But I think we support the people that are building. That's the way I look at it. this is what I'm looking at with EGLD. I mean, seriously, we're putting in a ton of volume. The way that I see it is that this is becoming a massive, massive support area. It is not going to be an area we want to lose. Like if the bear market continues for some reason, right, and the price goes down again, I don't want to see us come back to $35 and $40 because then it's going to be difficult to break out of this $50 range because we're putting in so much support. It's going to be a massive resistance area, right? We don't want to turn this into a resistance again. We want to hold support here and we want to break out of this. We want to go up to this $77 to $87 range and we want to start putting in volume there. The more volume that you see on this right-hand side on this VPVR, the better, right? So we have a ton of volume here, which is great. We want to see volume in all these areas get built up, and this is going to happen over time. You want it to look like this, and then when the price goes up, it holds, which means that there's a long way to go. We are early in the lifespan, and globally, the way economies are working right now, people just don't have the expendable income. So I say this to the people that are, early enough to be parts of these networks, all right? The future is bright, but the future's tough. It's not going to be easy. Adoption's going to be hard. A lot of that's going to have to happen with the team driving adoption. It's going to have to happen with the users driving adoption and with the people building on the platform driving adoption. There's a lot of cool people on the platform. So make sure you support them. Make sure you support one another. I hope you enjoyed the TA, and I will catch you guys next time, all right? Peace.